Welcome to In Their 20s, a podcast for people in their 20s. Today, we spoke with Jonathan Javier, who is the founder and CEO of Consulting. Jonathan's mission in life is to turn underdogs into winners. He is known as a top job search expert who has amassed over 900,000 followers on LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. So let's jump in with Jonathan to hear about his professional journey, the creation of his company, Consulting, and his advice for people in their 20s. Taking time out of your day to speak with me really means a lot. So this is the In Their 20s podcast. I created this a year ago with my best friend and co-host, who I might refer to during the podcast. Unfortunately, he passed away in April from a
Oh my gosh.
so I'm keeping this going for him. It's really important.
Nice,
We
man.
started this because we want to be able to provide young people with the best advice from the best people. I'd love for you to have the floor to begin with, just telling the audience a little bit more about yourself. And before Consulting, who was Jonathan?
Well, first off, Landon, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to be speaking with everybody listening in today. Yeah, so my name is Jonathan. I am the CEO and founder of Consulting, which our mission turn underdogs into winners. So helping those who come from non-target schools, non-traditional backgrounds to help them get into their dream careers. And yeah, I used to work at Snapchat, Google, and Cisco before doing Consulting full time now. But before Consulting, yeah, I still remember I was literally like all the millions of job seekers out there looking for jobs. I was scraping through LinkedIn, different careers websites, and you know how it is. It's applying to these different roles, expecting responses back from these recruiters, when in fact companies would just simply reject me. And I realized that, especially coming from my background, that something needed to change, because if you don't change that, if you keep doing the same things over and over again and expect the same result, that's insanity. So what I did was these unconventional strategies, which allowed me to basically network with all these different people from all these big name companies that I always aspired to get into. And the crazy part, Landon, was like, I thought my dream job was to work in one of these big tech companies, right? And it was initially. And when I was in college, I was helping everybody get jobs. But the thing was, I didn't even have my dream job yet, or it seemed like I didn't. But I realized shortly after that my dream job wasn't to work into a tech company. It was to help other people get into their dream companies. So that's how it all kind of started, basically from college. And Consulting started about a year ago, and it's grown ever since, especially on the different social media platforms to make a difference, hopefully, in more job seekers.
Of course, I love that, Jonathan. And I love that quote there too. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Mhm.
I totally find that to be true. A lot of 20 somethings, they're dealing with so much rejection. Okay. So they're getting rejected from this company, that company, this company. And that's something that you went through as well. But clearly you shifted your mindset and you tried different approaches. That's something that we want all 20 somethings to do. If something's not working, try something new. So when you were in your early 20s getting rejected from all of these jobs, even back in college, what did you specifically change to try and get in the front door?
Mindset. It's all about mindset and thinking outside the box. Rejection, everybody, is always redirection as long as you react to it in the right way. And so when I was applying to the different jobs, I thought about it and I was like, who else is applying to all the jobs? Everybody. When you are trying to do something, everybody listening in, do something that nobody else would do. Be the 1%. So what I did was I did unconventional strategies that nobody ever thought about, right? So for example, and a lot of people use my strategies now, which is really cool. One of the strategies I talk about is, like, for example, like I went to UC Riverside, right? The most basic advice that I give and a lot of people give is reach out to alumni. What happens if there's no alumni that go to your school? I mean, that go work in these companies.
Yeah,
You should reach out with people with my name. It sounds silly, right? Jonathan. Like literally, I would go to Google and I literally go and search Jonathan Google and I connect with everybody named Jonathan that's at Google, right? And I'd say, hey, I saw that you have the same name as me. I'd love to connect. Nobody ever does that, right, Landon?
of
Imagine
course.
you doing that the same thing for the company that you aspire to get into. And why I'm saying this is because it sounds silly, right? But the thing is, sometimes silly strategies like that get you into companies. They break you in because nobody else is going to do it. Why not? Why don't you? And that's how it kind of shifted my mindset in regards to how do I think. And that's why I teach all these different strategies on TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I think I have almost 1 million followers now on all the different platforms, which is
Yeah.
amazing. So it's all about giving back and all about thinking outside the box.
I love just the unconventional methods of getting inside companies. And clearly it worked for you. You spent time at Snap, spent time at Google, Cisco as well. I'd love to hear about those three opportunities. What did you learn from those opportunities? Because of course, I understand you started with Snap, for example, early within their growth and really was there during a crucial time. Google, everybody knows Google, and Cisco as well. So talk about those opportunities a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, Snap was a good experience. It was my first job out of college, and I was very fortunate to get that opportunity. Honestly, it was all about utilizing the unconventional strategies. Like how I got this job, Landon, was I literally made a I made a project for my class that utilized geolocation, and I printed out my business cards, my resume, my cover letter, all these different things, and I put into a yellow folder. And I went into the interview, and they loved
Wow.
it. And it was crazy. It was featured on Business Insider actually, which was cool. But yeah, I mean, I like my opportunity at Snapchat. I worked specifically in product operations, so I worked a lot with our different teams in regards to the different bugs that were happening, especially with communicating with our users.
Hmm.
It was a great experience, but it was a startup environment, like you said. This is right after IPO. I only was there for about 8 months. Unfortunately, our team got outsourced because Snapchat wasn't doing too well at the time. This is about 2017, 2016, or 2017, 2018. And what happened was, like I like to say, rejection is redirection. After that, I posted on LinkedIn, and a lot of the tech community came to me. And one of the companies that I was able to work at was Google. So I worked at Google in sales operations, sales strategy. It was really fun working on the different products for our ad side. And then after that, went to Cisco for about a year, where I was working on go-to-market strategy. But a lot of these different companies were really the main reasons why I even started Consulting, because they gave me a glimpse of what the corporate life was like and how I incorporate a lot of their strategies into my own company, and has helped other people do the same.
Got it. I love that you, of course, undergone like all of these experiences, have strong stories from these experiences, and now you're trying to teach them as lessons to other people, so they don't have to run into the same mistakes. I find that really, really powerful. Another thing I
Mhm.
find powerful about you, Jonathan, is your brand, your personal brand. People go to your page, they understand who you are right from the minute they see you, your content. They go to Consulting, they understand what they're going to get from that content as well, what they're going to learn. I'm going to take a guess and say that your brand, didn't just form overnight. I'm going to take a guess also and say that you've been building your personal brand for a while. So, thinking kids, students, workers right now that are at these companies, they're focused on the day to day there, but they really also want to be building their personal brand. What's your advice there?
100%. I think that a lot of times what happens is you attain your dream job and you become complacent, right? Because you're into your dream job, you're just like, okay, that's all I got to do. I personally think you should always be building your personal brand.
Hmm.
Share some stories in regards to how it is in the corporate world, right? So other people can get a glimpse of how it's like. Sometimes it's all good, sometimes it's sometimes bad. But the thing is, life has its ups and downs, right? So when I was in the corporate companies, I shared a lot of different content because I wanted other people to follow in my footsteps, right? And I think that's super important to inspire the future generations of society, especially those who come from minority backgrounds. Like I come from a Filipino background where Filipinos are not even huge, especially in the tech world, right? But the thing is, if you see another Filipino getting into tech, heck yeah, all the other Filipinos are gonna be like, I want to join too,
Yep.
right? So, yeah, it's all about that branding. But for those who are wondering, like, who are in corporate or who are trying to go into corporate, do I recommend posting content? Yes. I think there's so many different benefits of you posting content. The thing is, what people get scared about is feedback, constructive feedback, that one negative comment. But the thing is, Landon, are you going to focus on the one comment that's really bad? Are you going to focus on the 99 comments that say, damn, this is really good?
I couldn't agree more. A lot of people always ask me to extract a lot of the advice or just the commonalities from a lot of my interviews. And every single interview I've had has been vastly different, speaking with leaders like you, athletes, restaurateurs. But, if I'm really breaking down the similarities, I'd say a lot of people just say focus on what you love and just push through the hate, push through the negative feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that I've spoken with did that, you included, creating Consulting probably had a lot of negative feedback, but look at this amazing platform that you created because you believed in yourself. So I think this is a perfect pivot now to discuss consulting. What
Mm-hmm.
led to the creation of your company, and why did you create it?
Yeah, what I tell people all the time is like, I started consulting when I was working in corporate, right?
Hmm.
Like it was kind of like a side hustle, but you never know when your side hustle become your main hustle.
That is true.
So Landon, like I was honestly doing so many workshops for free. I was traveling 2 different locations just doing workshops. And people always ask me, Jonathan, how the heck do you do this? I love doing it. Right. So I would go to these schools, I'd present, do it virtually or in person. And I realized I'm like, do I want to do this based off my name or do I just want to start a company? And so initially I was like, okay, let's call it winsulting because winning plus consulting. But the thing is, it just sounds like you're insulting someone. So it's like one, how about one, winning, one. So one salting together,
I love that.
consulting plus one salting. But basically, yeah, I was just helping so many people that I was like, all right, let's just start a business with it. And honestly, it just grew from there. So for everybody aspiring to start their own businesses, honestly, what I'd recommend is working in the corporate world, learn about how they work, incorporate into your own company, and then bam, you can start something new.
Of course. I love that, Jonathan. And I have a question that you probably haven't been asked before, but you've clearly helped so many teens, 20 somethings, actually of all ages. You've given a lot of great people the resources they need to succeed. But this is an In Their 20s podcast. So I'd love to ask, like, what's a common misconception about 20 somethings that you hear? And then I also have a double added question. What is something that you believe every 20 something needs to know?
Yeah, so I'm actually 20 something. I'm literally only 26. So I'm still in that time in that range. I think the misconception about 20-year-olds is that they don't have enough experience to speak about these different topics. Like for example, for me, career tips, right?
Yeah,
Because we don't have the necessary experience. I sometimes get all the time people are like 40 years old and up and like, hey, this guy doesn't know anything because he's only 26. Right. When in reality, the thing is, I don't believe that an age should define what kind of experiences you have. Rather, the amount of literally the amount of things that you've learned throughout your life, it can be in a small amount of time, right? So I think the misconception is that kind of barrier between some of the other generations and the 20-year-old generations.
hmm
And another thing too as well, a lot of people think that 20 something year old generations are privileged, which some specific ones are, but the thing is, in reality, a lot of us work hard to where we are today, right? And the thing is, we always want to give back to society. So I think that's one misconception that I would say that 20-year-olds get.
I love that. No, I think that's really, really good advice. It doesn't matter how old you are. A lot of people I've interviewed have also said that age doesn't equal experience.
Exactly.
Experience equals experience. And clearly, you've worked at these amazing companies. You started your own amazing company. So those who say that you don't have the experience clearly don't know what they're talking about. So that's really powerful, Jonathan.
Exactly. Exactly.
Of course. So with all entrepreneurs I like to speak with, I always ask a question: what's next? Clearly, you're 26. Consulting is doing amazing, but I know as an entrepreneur, you have amazing plans to keep it going, keep scaling, and keep growing. So, what is next for the business?
Yeah. I mean, we're partnering a lot of different organizations and universities to present workshops and help a lot of the students, which is really awesome. One of the programs we recently launched has been doing really well. It's called the 20. Kind of funny that the podcast is very similar to the name, but we basically take a cohort of job seekers slash new
Mhm.
grads, professionals, whoever, and help them get their dream jobs. So I think that's been a really a focus point for us, especially when growing, because we are very confident that a lot of our strategies do work. And we've run this program for about 3 months now, and about 10 people have already gotten offers for dream companies like Facebook, Udemy, EY,
Wow.
Deloitte, all these different companies, right? So I think that's been the move, and that's been kind of the focus for what's next. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. When we launched the program, a lot of people, other people started to do their own programs very similarly. So I think it's really awesome to kind of see how we're able to be so influential, especially when we start something. So hopefully that'll continue to take off.
Of course. I love that. Well, Jonathan, again, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. This was great hearing about your professional journey, the creation of your company, and also your plans for the future. So thank you.
Of course, no problem at all. And Consulting wouldn't be where it is without my amazing team at Consulting. So shout out to them.
Teams are important. So thank you.